Okay, let's get started. First of all, thanks everyone for being here. We are having a webinar today about something we are really excited about. It is our new agentic framework, something that we've been building on for quite some time now at VaultSpeed. And obviously, yeah, given the environment and looking at the world around us, not a surprise that we would be building something like this, right? The world is around AI and agents. So that's what we are have been cooking. The webinar is called Before the Vault, Around It, After It. We'll explain more about that later, but first I'd love to introduce Patrick, our CEO, who is here with me, and will take you through most of the presentation together with me. So Patrick, shall we kick it off?
Yes, let's go. Very happy to do this today.
All right.
Okay, maybe start with reality check on the amount of pressure that is on the data teams we talk to every day. I mean, the problem to solve is still the same as before AI. The data is horizontally distributed across a crazy number of source systems. And for any use case that needs to be integrated data sets, like you need to piece that data back together, that problem is a very old problem and has been, for a big part, over time, hard-coded into ETL pipelines.
Yeah.
And that is now a critical source of pressure because there is a huge appetite on the outflow for using the data for AI, and the team can't scale fast enough the preparation of those data sets.
Yeah, and a lot of the knowledge that is encoded in these, sometimes legacy pipelines also lives, like the understanding of them lives in the heads of a few key people. So yeah, what happens if they leave?
Yeah, that's where the tribal knowledge, the key person risk, everything, all of those problems are still there today. Now, there's also another thing going on is that there's a lot of AI pilots and demos, LinkedIn, the web is saturated. It's a very noisy market. And indeed, you can vibe code a data pipeline, 1, 2, 3, 10, 100. But before you know, you're reproducing a spaghetti. Right? So you still need to have an integration layer well structured in the middle. Otherwise, it's gonna reproduce the same problem at AI speed.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying a lot of this myself. What I do see is that it will always produce flawless code.
Yeah.
I mean, it knows how to write SQL better than I do. Honestly, looks very good. But then knowing or really understanding that it provided code that does what you want it to do.
Does it do the right thing? Is the key question. I guess it's on everybody's mind in this audience.
Yeah.
And another thing that is more recent, like over the last couple of months, as OpenAI and Anthropic are preparing for the IPO this week, we're getting the numbers through the press. We all know that AI is deeply subsidized by capital money, VC backed, etc. So there is a concern: how much tokens are we burning? Can we save on AI costs? It's becoming a real topic. So we're going to address that as well through the webinar. Maybe we move on.
Yes. By the way, I see a lot of people are joining again. Welcome everyone. We are hot here. We want to start, and we started on time. Yeah. Any questions? Use the QA for questions. We will handle them at the end. So let's move on to the next one.
Yeah. So what we expect from AI is a step change. I mean, the team is so busy. Your data team is so busy. Anything that improves by 10 or 20%, you will not bother. Because introducing a new tool, changing a way of working to get a marginal improvement, that's not going to cut it. What the board, what senior management, and that's the nice thing about AI is that it's very much top-down driven, is that you really need doing smaller things with a disproportionate upside.
Yep.
Okay? And that's going to be the main topic of the use case also that we are going to show later on this webinar, because we've done it in real life with production systems. And the other thing that is also living is, can we skip the integration layer altogether. Why do we still need a data warehouse? Why do we still need to do modeling and data vaulting, etc.? Can't I use my data straight into AI, throw it there and move on?
Yeah, I think it's a question on many people's minds, but part of the answer or part of the questions around it, yeah, we already gave them. So
yeah, okay, let's move. Yeah, the thing about VaultSpeed, and because in the audience, some of you know us quite well, others are maybe more new, is that it works perfectly with any kind of constraints around AI that you may have. Okay? Because we are a deterministic system for code generation at the core. We still use the good old code that's 100% of the time, 100% of the time, the same code over and over again in the code generation. That's important. Okay. We only work on metadata. We never see your data. So that's why we are widely adopted in regulated industries.
Mm-hmm.
It's also much easier for us to manage. Yeah, we don't take risks. We don't see your data. We only see the metadata. We're ISO certified though, right? And there is no runtime lock-in. The code that we produce will run on your platform without us. You don't need us to run VaultSpeed code. Okay. Which means that we have customers that are on private cloud, on-prem, on modern cloud platform. A lot of them are on Snowflake, on Databricks, etc. And we will work also with Butterfly for sure, with companies where AI is adopted throughout. There's a mandate, use AI wherever you can, it's deployed, you have access to the best model, it's okay to use AI. Well, then our answer is to give it a structure so that you don't have 50 people asking the same thing over and over again, burning tokens and getting different answers. The key thing to remember here is that building an integrated layer with an automation system is a blessing for those who have done it in the past, and it's never too late to do the right thing.
Yeah.
It's still a very good thing to do today, because as we will see in a moment, this integration layer automated creates a lot of metadata, a lot of description about the process. That is the core ingredient for AI in the outflow, in the gold layer, the data products, to be successful. It will tell the AI how the data that it is looking at, how this data came to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also answers a bit, yeah, this dual state. Do you have AI adopted already, or is it something on the roadmap?
Or are you a bit in between?
Either way, it's a good place to start already integrating the data properly, modeling it, documenting it, and making it understandable.
Okay, so let's move. So another question we also get, why still do Data Vault? Why is Data Vault relevant today?
Yeah, well, it tails to the question of why should we still integrate our data? And yeah, actually, whether it's an agent or a human consuming the data or consuming the data models that we have brought together, if you find a way to integrate it in a documented model, a methodology, really, it's still easier to read. And again, this boils down to burning less tokens to answer.
Yes, it's highly repeatable. So there really is no reason to generate it with AI. It's a solved problem. It's an excellent methodology. It's designed for multi-source. It has not always been easy to implement.
No.
Let's be honest.
Actually, it's been quite hard to implement sometimes.
It has a bit of a reputation.
Yeah.
Okay. But that is what AI can help. So let's not throw the baby with the water, right? So it's a great methodology. It's here to stay, and it solves a fundamental problem of the horizontally distributed systems. That's why we came with Butterfly. So maybe a word about the butterflies on the screen. The vault in the middle is the solved problem. It's the raw vault automation. You can do it with us. You can do it with dbt. You can do it with a few other vendors. That problem is solved. Okay, you should not code a vault yourself. I mean, don't do that anymore. Okay, there are very good solutions, either open source or commercial off the shelf. Pick one of the two, but automate it in the middle. What was a bit painful and required a lot of work was before the vault in source analysis and design, And after the Vault, in preparing the data products with single business logics and all sorts of exceptions and specifics, report, dashboard, and that. So if you think about it, we came with the idea, it looks like the two wings of a butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
You have a small center and then two beautiful wings before and after the Vault. Therefore, the name for the agentic framework, we call it butterfly.
Yeah, and actually the reason of us selecting both the upstream and downstream processes from the Vault as the place of where to implement and where to use agentic AI is because, yeah, listening to customers, listening to our partners, we already solved the code generation for Data Vault. So providing them with agentically generated code all of a sudden adds almost zero value.
Why?
It actually adds a little bit of risk because you are still never 100% sure that it will be the right code always, every time. So that's not, or is not at this point, the best place to deploy agentic AI. It's really on the upstream analysis and the downstream analysis of the data products that we will deploy it.
So how does that look like? What is this?
This will explain what we have been building, Patrick. And actually, if you look at the picture, the most important piece of it is in the middle, right? We call it the enterprise context store. Why? Well, it gathers information about enterprise data platforms, and not only just technical information, it's really about the entire accumulated context combined. A bit more about that later. And another important part of it is that it stores the context. And that's really, I think, one of the biggest advantages and one of the most difficult things to do in the past, really to accumulate and build a compounding platform that understands all the choices that were ever made building your data platform before, so that they can be used by others who are building new things on the platform as well, right? The context store consists of three important layers. The first one on the left is the business context. And this is really where you need to look into the direction of conceptual data models, explaining how an organization works from a very high level, the entities, the attributes, customers buy products at stores, things like that. That's fully agnostic of technology. It's really about the entities and the relationships between those entities. Then in the middle, we have what we call the implementation context. And this is everything that exists in the data platform today. So if I see there's many VaultSpeed customers in the call today, the data vault that you have built with VaultSpeed today is context that we can ingest as implementation context.
Or any other data vault, by the way.
Indeed.
Stealing your thunder.
That's, thank you. If you look at what we can ingest today, it doesn't limit itself only to VaultSpeed data vaults. It can actually be extended far beyond. We have working solutions with data vaults deployed and built using dbt with either open source package, whatever out there. And actually the limits there, we haven't even scratched the surface. There's way more that we can ingest as this implementation context. You see there the medallion architecture, bronze, silver, gold. We need to understand what happens in the sources. That's still true. We need to understand technically how that was implemented in silver. And of course, also the gold layer, which is where you have the end user truth. And that neatly ties it to, the far right of the context store, the context about what business users actually want. What do they need? Which metrics do they want to see? Which reports? Which data products? And that's maybe the even more interesting part of the context store. It really maps and connects all these three layers of context with each other, so that you can have an end-to-end overview of this is how the organization works. This is what we have implemented in our data platform, and for this purpose in terms of the data products that business users require and that they want to see built.
Okay, but we don't live in isolation.
No.
We live in a world where there's all sort of other things on the data stack for our customers. So how do we go about that?
Well, first of all, there's a lot of around this context store, which, by the way, is it's using knowledge graph technology. That's the implementation. But there's a need to either fill the graph with context, and that can be done from conceptual data models, XMI standards, Irwins, Power Designers, whatever you have around. I've seen conceptual data models on pictures, slide decks.
Transcript of a dialogue with a subject matter expert.
Yeah, these kind of things. So that can be used to ingest or update, whatever you want. Of course, the Vault import, we already spoke about that, and the requirements of data products. So that's more on the ingest side, what you throw into the context. But of course, once you have all that context there, there's so much more that you can do than only generate codes or configure your VaultSpeed setup.
Yeah, we are also very respectful of the governance layer.
Yeah, and we'll show that in the demo. For example, once you have the context there and it's connected between the business context or the business term and really an implemented physical artifact inside your silver or gold layer, for example, we can push that back into Colibra so that the governance solutions can also benefit from this accumulated context, and that the data stewards and the whole community in your Colibra, for example, can also.
And for the existing customers on this call, we will be very happy to get a really nice lineage viewer out of the Butterfly project.
Yeah, it was something on the VaultSpeed side that we got many questions about, and with this Butterfly, actually it's quite feasible. So that's something we'll show in the demo as well. And then, of course, if you want to implement data products these days, many people think about Gen BI, think about Genie in Databricks or Cortex Analyst in Snowflake, where you can just ask a question. But how do you feed that with the right semantics? That's also something that can be generated from the context store into whichever piece.
And if you are in the first category of customers that are still constrained by AI because the data is too sensitive, we can also mimic the equivalent of a semantic view in the form of an Oracle view or some other on-premise database technology for your on-premise data warehouse. That will also work.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
All right, so the guiding principle was to not overlap, but integrate. And now I guess everybody is very curious to see the thing in action.
Shall I not?
I don't know.
Okay.
You tell me.
Let me show you a couple of things, right? Because what we've seen in the knowledge graph and the knowledge graph or the context store is that we need to start accumulating, gathering context. So what we've done here, we have a small demo company. The company is called Papillon. Surprise, surprise. For the people who understand French, it's French for butterfly. So that's where it came from. What you can see here is that we loaded an existing business model into this graph, and it's really a chat interface, right? There's a whole bunch of skills that have been built around the knowledge graph. And these skills can be used by the agents. Now, the agents will use the skills, and that's one of the big advantages and also one of the drivers that will limit the cost of this entire thing. A skill will tell the agent what to do, so it doesn't have to guess on what to do next, and you don't have to feed it with all that necessary context. So I asked Butterfly to visualize my business model, and what I can do is just open it. And it will show it to me, not in a graph setup, but in a setup that me as a human prefer to use. What we all know, a modeler that can allow you to browse and visualize the conceptual, really the business model that you have built for this.
That's what we call the immutable business definitions.
Yeah. So this is about customers, quotes, orders.
So it will come from Erwin.
Yeah. Power Designers.
Or multiple of them, because different pockets of the organization have done it in different ways.
Typically, that's what you see.
It's rarely one thing only. It's multiple.
Yeah.
It can also be scoped down to a particular department or a portion of the business. It doesn't need to be the full enterprise model either.
No, and that's also the beauty of having it in graph technology. It's easy to browse, and for humans, we can produce all kinds of output. So if you don't like a model or viewer like this one, yeah, you can also just ask the butterfly to generate you a report in PDF. That's perfectly doable.
Yeah.
The only thing you need is you need to have produced a skill, one that is produced by us and lives inside the platform, or one that you create yourself on top of the platform to build it in an output that is to your liking. So if you want to build an integrator between the butterfly, between the context store and your documentation platform, Confluence, whatever, you can easily build that.
It's the modern way of delivering software.
Yeah.
The software does a whole lot of things, has a great structure to keep you on track, but you can use AI to extend it yourself, build your own skills, create the artifact as you like them.
Yeah, absolutely. Another example of that is the lineage viewer, right? So this is where we have, for example, a dimension object in our presentation layer, and automatically the graph contains all the details of how this thing tracks back into, all the way downstream into the upstream, into the source layer. So that's an example of lineage. It becomes easy to produce now. Again, this is just one format that is provided by the platform, but you can also build something else. And maybe an example of that is we are not a closed platform. It's really open. Oops. This is, for example, Colibra. I will need to log in again. And what we have here is a connector that we've built between the enterprise context store and my Colibra instance, so that I can feed it with lineage, vertical lineage from source to target, but also the lineage between the business model and the implementation context. That's also something that can now be easily derived from the context store. And that's really one of the strengths of a context store, is also that we've built it in a way and we've modeled it in a way that it knows everything that will be required later on to produce some kind of output, whether it's code or something like this. It knows what it needs. We're still building on top of it, of course, and it will expand, I have no doubt. But it's like a puzzle. It's filling in all the blank spots in the puzzle until you know everything that's required to produce.
It's still early days, let's be honest. But what we see is that this way of working allows for incremental delivery. You start small and you build and you build and you build.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the examples, so
we're back on the chat.
Once we've connected and we're back in the chat experience, you can see that once I've accumulated a lot of context and I have validated it with lineage and with business model visualizers, I can also start asking it questions like, hey, I have a need for a data product. I got an initial email from someone.
Okay, you throw an email to the thing.
An email, but also a few other things like an existing report in Excel. And then in the email.
So you have a business analyst that comes to the data team with an Excel and an email.
Yeah. Build me this. Yeah. Build me this.
You've been a data engineer yourself. Did it happen to you?
Quite often. And the ones I remember most are the ones where the guy who knew it all, who had built it and who was there for 20 years, then threw me the query. Yeah, this is the query behind that Excel sheet. So if you want to build it in your data platform, be my guest.
Friend.
Be my guest. And that was all the explanation I got.
So that's kind of input that everybody is familiar with.
Yeah.
On the outflow, on the gold layer.
Another input could be something that is already more structured, because in some teams you do have a very good flow of mapping documents that have been built, where they have an overview of the business terms that they want, where they could be found in the source, how you need to map it together. But I mean, we've all seen these kind of sheets. They're tough to read. It's a lot of context to understand. And if you need to do that manually, first, it takes ages to build. You need to validate everything. And the person, the engineer who gets it and then needs to map it in Informatica or Ab Initio also has a lot of work of making that happen. So that's the kind of input you would get.
Okay.
And then you run through a process where you really learn to understand.
So you're skipping all the steps.
The data product.
It's a dialogue with the agents.
It's a dialogue where I ask it to do certain mappings. The request of the data product came after I ingested a lot of the context about the platform and the integration layer, the silver layer that we already have. And it's really guiding me through this process of everything I need to ultimately come to a point where I can start building semantic models where it produces for me, something like, go back, a charter, yeah, this one. I can do it. Yeah, this is a document that it produces where I can really read, okay, what is requested, who requested it, who is the owner of the data product. So the entire accumulated context of what it's supposed to do. Yeah, maybe this is a bit nicer. So a document that I can read, that I can review, and then ultimately, of course, for which I can generate a semantic layer with semantic views.
So now we're in Snowflake?
In Snowflake, indeed, where actually, if you know VaultSpeed a bit better from before, the people in the room who use it today, yeah, the code we generate for the data vault is fully deterministic.
Yeah.
This code was generated by an agent, but it was generated based on everything, every single piece of context that we accumulated, feeding the context store with.
And that's how we come to the equivalent of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it lands as a semantic view.
Yeah.
What can we do with it?
Well, a semantic view is more than just code. It also needs to understand a bit what is inside this thing. What are the metrics? What are the typical questions? What are the dimensional objects in this thing? Which facts do we have? All these kind of things.
So it's actually the Snowflake implementation of the data product document that we just saw a minute ago in the chat experience.
Yeah.
So you chat with the agent until you are happy with the documentation.
Yeah.
You create the document.
Yeah.
And from there, boom, you create whatever you need.
You generate the OSI, the open semantic, the context really that it needs to understand that. That's an open standard. Many platforms are using it as Snowflake, Databricks, DBT, everyone uses that. So it generates something there, and from there it can jump into generating the real code for a semantic view. And of course, if you have semantic views, then your Gen BI use case comes alive, because then you can start asking it questions. This is Snowflake intelligence, but you can use it with Genie in Databricks or any other equivalent solution to start asking questions around the data inside.
Genie and Cortex Code, Coco, are very popular, Cortex Analyst.
Yeah.
So we have customers who are chatting with their data warehouse through those tools. And if we provide the semantic context and views, like we just said, we just make it work a lot better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because what it will not have to do is start guessing on unintegrated data, data coming from.
I'm going to show it in the use case that we are presenting.
Yeah. So that was the demo. Going back to the slides.
Yeah.
First, before we go into the use case, a few more other product updates for all customers and actually everyone in the webinar. A very thing we've been working on for the last couple of months is to expand our DBT support. First of all, VaultSpeed had DBT support, but we have created version 2.0 of that, I would say, with a lot of feedback that came from the field on do this better, do that differently. So that found its way into the product.
Better leverage of the DBT features.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, DBT was doing more than we were allowing it to do.
Yes, and of course also DBT, since the first version we had, also evolved.
So we supported DBT already 3-4 years ago. So.
Yes.
So it was time for a refresh, and it's done now.
Yeah.
And the only thing is the native app on Snowflake, which is great because then you can harvest metadata within the security perimeter of your Snowflake estate. No virtual machine, no agents, no nothing. You just plug and play VaultSpeed with your Snowflake installation if you're on Snowflake.
Easy setup for the people on Snowflake. And
the day the other platforms offer the same features, we will support them as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Good use case, Patrick. This one.
Yes, because you will be invited if you want to join the early access program, but we already have customers running it. And I wanted to showcase a anonymized private bank that we have as a customer here in Europe. And they are confronted to a core banking migration, and they need to keep the regulatory reporting running. So a very classical case, switched source system, big ones, but please keep my reporting layer running.
Yeah.
So the starting point are two production grade legacy one is the legacy warehouse with two different data vaults in it. And another one is the new data warehouse that started some time ago, quite recently, where there is one data vault, yet another one. So 3 data vaults involved. They need to switch the core banking system and the CRM because they've been acquired. Okay, and they're forced to adopt the CRM of the mother company and the core banking of the mother company. Both need to be done. The documentation is, like everybody knows, you get the technical schemas, the SQL code, the business object universe, if you have any still, Excel files, PDFs, former migration scripts, etc. It's all different qualities, different level of completeness, not the same granularity. There is no single overview, no single standard format. This is real life. I mean, any large bank is confronted to this kind of complexity. And the question is, we have 25 mandatory reports we need to keep producing during the migration. They are sourced from 400 attributes coming from those source systems. There is no automated way to match which attribute comes from which new field of the new systems. And the ask was, we don't want to have a 2-year migration project. Can we do this in a month? Okay. So they applied for our early access for the Agentic framework. We were very happy to welcome them. We deployed 2 engineers from VaultSpeed on their project, and that is where we are in just 4 weeks. Okay.
The perfect challenge.
The perfect challenge. So step 1 has been to load Butterfly, so our 3 layers of understanding, the persisting business layer, the logical implementation, and the definitions of the data product. In this case, that were the 25 regulatory reports. But we did it end to end for the first time in this customer, from the core banking origin to the regulatory reporting through the end-to-end. Okay, and this is a warehouse with over 5,000 objects linked 3 data vault, real production system. Okay. Side note, something we were not asked to produce, but Butterfly did it on the fly, is find the gaps that nobody could see, like stale tables in production, like orphans, some lineage gaps, duplicates.
The tables that were never supposed to be there, but
were not deleted, or so not a lot, just maybe 20 out of thousands, but it's good to know. There was an aha moment. That was also the proof that the lineage was really, really good and really, really full. Okay. All right. Now, mapping to the target system was the real challenge, not only to the full lineage, but also mapping to the new system. And the secret sauce here, I'm revealing kind of, is that the system triangulates between the conceptual layer, the implementation layer, the logical links, and the physical schema to really check for completeness and reliability of the new systems matching with the old. Okay. At the core, what's really good when you have a data vault, and that's why it works better if you have a data vault, it means that the whole transformation journey of your data in the silver layer, where the integration happens, in the raw vault, is documented by default. Okay, it can be read from somewhere, from the YAML files if you use DBT, from the metadata backend if you use VaultSpeed, or from an export of the metadata if you use another legacy Warescape or other tools, you can export the metadata.
Yeah.
Okay. The beauty of AI, and that's what was not possible before, is that you can ingest any kind of input. In a regulated context, you have the regulatory reports. They are fully described. It's very good. In a bank, you usually have documentation about the fields, etc. What was missing is what is the articulation, how the data came to be, what was the links between all those things.
Yeah.
And that's where Butterfly became really, really good at triangulating the thing. Now, what are the conclusions? First thing I need to debunk is that you cannot throw a generic AI system to this problem, because trying to match on descriptions of fields and columns, the customer tried, right?
Not gonna cut it.
It's not cutting it, because only 7% of the fields could be matched between the old system and the new source system. And what's even worse is that AI, even with a good model, was 21% of the time confident about the match, although it was deeply wrong.
Yeah.
So that's worse. It's telling you, I'm sure, and actually it's totally wrong.
So it said, well, on 28%, I found something. The rest, I don't know.
But
and
actually,
then most of what it found was actually wrong.
Yeah, well, and so what changes if you have a data vault and you load it up in a structure like ours is that you have an anchor, you have the process of the transformation of the data. You can then, with the agents, if they are well prompted, if they have the right scaffolding, you work attribute by attribute, constraint. And of course, we built the system with the accumulated knowledge of dozens and dozens of production data vaults. Some of the most complex data warehouses in the world have been automated with VaultSpeed, and that is all loaded now into our model.
Yeah.
So the improvement is not the model, it's the scaffolding around it. It's the structure that we have created. So it didn't look like AI could solve this problem. And now we are at 90% match, automated through the Butterfly project in just 4 weeks. And that is the 10x improvement the customer was looking for. So what do we do next? Well, now that we have the full lineage and we have the mapping, we can, of course, automate the loading code. Right? So we can load the new warehouse because we have all the information at hand.
So the analysis of what was on the left side of the butterfly and the left
Well,
wing.
the mapping is to a large extent done. So now we can do in the middle and automate the code, but that's the thing we have always been doing for years. Okay. Second benefit is that the subject matter experts, the business analysts, etc., they now have a knowledge graph and they have those 3 levels and they have the agents. That is a permanent system that can be improved over time. There's no reason not to continue to improve that knowledge.
This is the compounding effect.
Yes. Yes. So over time we can improve and improve and improve the quality, and there is a repository to compound it.
Yeah.
And last but not least, we could see it in the demo with the Cortex semantic layers, etc. We have a fantastic foundation to automate the data products in the gold layer.
Yeah.
Because we have everything.
Which is the right wing of the butterfly. So
that's the right wing. So the butterfly, the vault is in the middle, and the 2 wings left and right. So a pilot looks like this. We put senior VaultSpeed engineers, embed it. Okay? We look at the source, we build a knowledge graph, we train the agents on your data, we embed into your team. Okay? That's the forward deployed engineering model. What you do, you need to provide access to the metadata. We don't need to see the data, okay? And any kind of available documentation that you can source in the organization. You need to have some domain expertise because you will need to be reviewing and approving what we're doing. To fit with the early adopter program, we ask you to have more than 1 system to integrate. Usually there's many more, okay? You need to have either a Vault already in play or are interested in building one. By preference, a cloud data platform, Snowflake or Databricks. But it will work also if you're constrained and work on-prem. You have a data team that is stretched. If people have too much time, I don't think you need us. You need to have domain knowledge, and we know it's going to be concentrated in a few heads, so we will not ask too much. It's better if you have compliance or regulatory reporting. Usually it's a good fit for Data Vault, but not only. You could also use it in different contexts.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, who doesn't have a board level pressure to use AI? I mean,
well, if it's not there today, it will surely come in the coming months, weeks.
All right. So you don't need to tick all the boxes, but if you have a few of them, talk to us. So how does that work?
Well, getting access is quite easy. You see a QR code that will take you to a page where you can apply for early access. I think it will also be pasted in the chat for your reference. And then we'll book a short discovery call where we can assess and maybe go through some of the topics or questions that you have at hand to make sure that there is a fit, that we understand the use case. And then indeed, we propose a way forward with some of our senior engineers to start running that in the early access program. It's running from now through September. And then as of October, we will take a next step and go into a self-service preview so that you can really use the platform on your own.
Okay. Now, to be very genuine and transparent, we don't see if there are questions and answers. Shall we look if there is some Q&A?
Let's have a look. So indeed, I see indeed some questions. Let's take them from the top right. Question from Jesse. In those inputs being stored in VaultSpeed or in the context store, before the agent can process them, is that a prerequisite, or is there a way to put security encryption around this to prevent information leak? Good question. The one thing that is important is that, the context store itself, it's still primarily metadata, right? So we are not asking you to put the names of your customers or the bank accounts of your customers or what have you into the context store. That's not what it needs, right? It's still primarily based on metadata. Of course, if you start feeding it with certain documents, documentation, you do have to be quite sure yourself that these don't provide some of these key PII sensitive data assets. So
we are ISO certified as well, but if you have a specific security concern, I propose that we discuss that into the discovery call. And we see together what we can do about a specific private hosting or something that would work for your case.
And the fact that it is a prerequisite, there's a couple of ways to read the question. The first one is you don't need an existing VaultSpeed data vault to get started with this. It can be any data vault. So there is no prerequisite to be a VaultSpeed customer already. We can really start from scratch as well. Do we need the context for it to be able to produce certain outputs of what we saw in the demo? Yes, of course. Without the context in the context store, it cannot produce anything on the way out. I hope that answers the question.
And with that, we can close on.
Now there's a second one, I think. Do we have a trace on the inputs used by the agent? Yes. So what has been built into the platform is that there is full traceability. So whatever came in, whatever went out, is of course first of all stored in the context store, so you can query what came in. But there is also traceability on who provided which input at which time, so that it can always be traced back as to where does this come from. It's also one of the reasons why we have really built a model around how this system is set up, how the knowledge graph or how the data finds its way into the knowledge graph. Because the one thing that you always get when building knowledge graphs is if you don't put any structure there, it's going to become entropy. And part of the structure of building out that structure is, of course, being able to understand who put which context where at which point. So that is covered.
Okay, good.
I see maybe
Any more
in the
questions?
chat,
Maybe
because
there's somebody in the
typically
chat.
in the chat you sometimes get some questions there as well.
No, that's good.
No.
All right. Well, thank you for your attention, all of you. Thank you for joining the webinar. It was a pleasure to show Butterfly for the first time. There will be more coming.
Yeah. If we have more to show, more to demo, more use cases to share, we will definitely have follow-up webinars after this.
We're going to San Francisco next week.
Yep.
For the Snowflake Summit.
Well, I am. You're not. But...
No, you're going. I'm not going this year. You're going.
So yeah, anyone going there, you can feel free, find us at the VaultSpeed booth. We have some demos ready there. It's indeed booth 2411.
Thank you, Falke.
Thank you, Falke. I didn't have it stored in my
This is teamwork.
Teamwork. So
and then we will be again in San Francisco a week later.
For Databricks.
Because there's a gap week between.
Yep. And again, at Databricks, we might even have a little bit more to show because the product is really, really flying, and we're really releasing one new skill after the other. So it's going really fast.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And the Databricks booth is also there. It's number 112.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.